If you're watching this later, this is Druids Down Under Discuss Everything. We call it DDUDE. I'm Julie Brett, and tonight I'm going to be talking about Druidry in isolation. And yeah, it's an idea that's come to me because of the situation that we're in at the moment, or that the world is in at the moment, where a lot of people are being isolated. So hello, one person watching. Sorry if it's a bit dark. I've got a headache, and so I thought I'd do it by candlelight and with a little lamp tonight, because the bright lights were hurting my eyes a bit. Yeah, I've probably, like a lot of us, have been watching the news a little bit too much, and a bit too much screen time. It's given me a headache. Anyway, yeah, crazy times, hey? So, yeah, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Druidry in isolation. And I know a lot of people won't be isolated yet, or their experience at this time might be more busy, or it might be, you know, completely different. There's all sorts of different ways that this crisis is going to affect people. But I thought I'd talk about what we can do when we are feeling isolated, and maybe not necessarily just about this situation, but also at other times when we might be isolated, maybe if we're sick and have to isolate ourselves for that reason, or maybe we live in a remote place and we don't get to see people very often. So how do you do Druidry when you're by yourself a lot, or you find yourself you know, having to stay at home and you can't get out very often? So what do we do? And also, how do we you know, use Druidry as a tool to help us feel better in times of crisis as well? So in our community, just in the last couple of days, there have been so many cancellations of events that mean so much to people. Times when we get to see people from long distances away and get to share these wonderful experiences, doing rituals together and sharing stories about our lives and all these really rich experiences in person. And it's been really sad, of course, to see so many of those be cancelled. But, you know, we're doing it for our communities, we're doing it for the wider communities, and it needs to be done on so many different levels. But at the same time, there's, you know, there's a need in us to have those connections. And I thought, you know, how can we maintain not just our connections with each other, but our connections with our Druidry and our practice. And I thought I'd talk about some ideas for that, and then maybe if I have time at the end, I'll do a bit of a meditation on presence, because something that I've really been thinking about a lot lately is this idea of coming back to our center. That, you know, I think generally that's something that we should do when we can. It's a good sort of reset. It's a healing thing to come back to your center and to think about not just, you know, huge worldly concerns, or even ones in your immediate surroundings, but you know, how are you internally? Like, considering your health and your body awareness, and just your surroundings and what your home is like, and, you know, that real immediate space around you can be such an important thing to take care of. But so often our sense of what's important to us can be really widespread over the world, or our larger communities, where we can forget to look after the little things closer in. So I think that whenever we're isolated, there's that opportunity to come back in to our center, to come back to you know, the immediate things around you that you can look after. And of course, one thing that Druidry would encourage us to do in that sense is to do some meditation. Hello to all the people that are saying hello to me, by the way. And yeah, so doing our meditation, some of the different orders have different ways of doing things, of course. Being familiar with OBOD, they do the light body exercise, which is quite a common practice. It's also something that gets mentioned in Eckhart Tolle, which I've been reading a bit about because of looking at presence and his books on the power of now. And yeah, this idea that we have this energy body, and just coming back into awareness of that is a really simple and, you know, completely centering practice of coming back to, that center of us and our experience, and knowing that we're, that in doing that we're finding that grounding in ourselves, and then from there we can move outwards to what the next part of our immediate center is important for us. Something else we can also do, of course, is meditating with nature, and that might be difficult if you live in an apartment, perhaps, or you wanted to get some pots going or something. You can't get down to Bunnings. If you're isolated, you might have to just work with what you've got. But you might be able to get out in the garden if you have one, and getting some veggies growing might be a nice thing to do. Getting some winter veg in, or spring veg if you're in the northern hemisphere. And just noticing birds passing, or the colour of the sky, or looking at the stars, that kind of thing, or maybe spending some time with trees or plants that you have in a garden, and just being outside. There's nothing about isolation that means we can't be outside, so that's a really nice part of our Druidry that we can still maintain. And if you don't have a garden, then there are ways of engaging with nature through a window, or just thinking about things like light or the sky, or the sounds of birds and things like that, or with pot plants if you have those. And then of course it's quite an amazing opportunity, really, if we're spending lots more time at home or by ourselves, that we have potentially more time because of not having a commute, or not needing to do things that we would normally have to do to get to work. And just to mention what I said at the beginning, I know this isn't the experience of everybody, and some people will not be in isolation, but this is just a talk for the people that are, or the moments in our lives when we are. So when those situations are put on us, finding more practice in our solo rituals can be really grounding and nourishing. And of course, doing any coursework or working with a book that talks about rituals can be really lovely. There are some challenges, though, I suppose, in that kind of thing. If you're unable to leave, you might have to work with what you've got. If you don't have a big collection of things to do rituals with, you might have to get creative with what you're going to use. And, maybe you run out of candles and you have to think about what's going to represent fire for you. Or maybe you can find a red stone, or you might want to create an altar or something like that to have in the center of your ritual space. And you might not have something that it suggests for you to have, and you could maybe think about replacing it with something else. It gives us these opportunities to challenge the ways that we do things and think outside of the box, which I think is quite a good thing. But there's other things that we can do as well. Working with if you work with herbal teas, or taking baths with herbs and things like that, can be a lovely solo ritual experience. Or doing divination for ourselves, or working on different tools, and working with our Arwen, doing our craft work in some way, or working on that creative energy and how we'd like to do that. It's a wonderful thing to do when you've got extra time alone at home. There's no reason to go stir crazy in these situations. There's so much that we can potentially do that can be part of our practice. So yeah, when we're missing, so the idea of what I'm saying, I suppose, is when we're missing those outward experiences of meeting people in social situations, or being able to travel to gatherings, we can instead turn our attention inwards and consider our personal practice and our inner practice. And I don't think that's a bad thing, to just change the focus that way. There is also a potential, it seems. Lots of different groups that have had to cancel their gatherings are looking at putting them online. So something else that we can do in these situations is really become mindful of the ways that we're using our technology. So it can be so easy to get lost in the infinite scroll of madness and sensational news and outrageous you know, articles and things like that, and it can be really stressful. But I think it's really important to try and use the technology in positive ways. So, you know, having discussions with people, talking to friends, maybe even getting together to do a divination together or a little ritual with some friends. If you can't meet up in person, it's a lovely thing to do as a filler for you know what you can't get to. It's a good alternative, and it looks like there's going to be more of the kind of online gatherings happening. I'm not sure what kind of a shape that's going to take just yet, but I think that's something to watch out for. That will be really nice for us going into the next few months, where more of us might be in this sort of a situation where we can't travel interstate perhaps, or get along to these events because of social distancing rules that might come into practice. Yes, let me just check my notes, see if I missed anything. Yeah, and of course online resources. There's so many things online that we can do, lots of courses and talks and meditations and things like that are already available on YouTube and different groups online. So yeah, there's lots of resources. Like these talks, if you want to find more of these, if it's something that might fill some time for you and feel like a part of your practice, then yeah, they're on the Serpent Star OBOD YouTube channel, and they're also in the video section of the Druids Down Under group on Facebook. So yeah, those are some ideas of things that you can do to keep your Druidry going, I guess, if you're finding yourself isolated. And yeah, things that you can do at any time that you find yourself isolated, really, not just in this time. I always encourage people to have discussions on the Druids Down Under group as well, because it's a great place to have a chat with people, bring up an idea, and not feel so isolated. There's lots of people that are willing to talk and share and get involved with different ideas on there. So yeah, use it as your discussion space. It's a lovely place to get to know people and to share ideas and experiences. But yes, so I've got a few more minutes left, and I thought we could do a little meditation. Unless there's any comments, I'll just check. Revisiting abandoned crafts or old journals. Yes, sort of tidying through your things. Like there's like so many ideas that can come out of just sitting with your stuff and just having a look through it. Like those lazy days where you just like rifle through an old drawer or a box full of things, and or look through an old journal, or maybe a magical book or something that you started writing in a long time ago, and see what you found in there. Or maybe you've got an empty one that you could start. Yeah, creative projects is so fun to get into as well, like finding an old chunk of clay that you had somewhere that you could make into something, or you know, knitting, or there's so many different things that you could get into. The craft aspect, the Arwen seeking aspect of having that extra time at home is certainly full of potential. I'll just check if there's any other little comments from you guys. Lots of hellos. Nice to see everybody. Right, well, let's do a little meditation. So find yourself a nice still place, or check in later if you don't have a good time right now. We're just going to do a meditation on stillness and on presence and on that light body. So just finding your body centered. Maybe shifting your shoulders side to side, moving your spine around to find that nice central position. You might have your feet on the floor or crossed, or maybe you're lying down if you prefer. It's finding a comfortable place to sit. Taking a few deep breaths. letting any tension fall away into the floor, grounding it in the earth. Feeling into the emotional energy that you're holding. Are you tense from the situation at the moment? Is there something you can let go? Where are you holding it in your body? Is your neck tight, or your shoulders, your back, perhaps your forehead? Just notice anywhere that you might be holding tension and let it release with the breath. And then just becoming aware of that subtle energy of your body, that life force energy that sort of mirrors the parts of your physical form. And if you're having any thoughts about your day or about anything else that comes into your mind, just acknowledge it and dismiss it. Like turning a page in a book. Just acknowledge the page and turn the page. And any thoughts that arise, just acknowledge them and turn that page, dismiss them. And try to come back to now, into that energy body, into your breath. And just finding peace there. And we'll just take 3 deep breaths. And hopefully by now you're feeling that energy body, noticing that subtle energy, feeling your whole body as one, feeling into this present moment and the stillness here. And just open your eyes a little and see what it is to have that feeling in waking life, in, everyday moments, not just in meditation. It's like your body is thrumming with positive energy. And when you're ready, open your eyes all the way and roll your shoulders around. And you don't need to let go of that experience, that feeling really. It's just coming into stillness and presence. And I think that's probably one of the most valuable things that we can take some time to do when we've got this extra time. Just taking some moments to step away from everything and just center again. Find that inner center. Find that stillness. Because when we find that, it's easier to connect with everything else. Easier to recognize what we are needing, what we're holding as well, and what we maybe need to let go of, or what we need to find balance in. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed that discussion as well, and the meditation, and that you got something out of that. I hope everybody stays well in these difficult times, and yeah, reach out if you have a need to as well. The group is there for people to help each other and to share and to not feel so isolated, so that we can do this practice together, even if we're really far away from each other. And this weekend, me and Rebecca and Lisa will be sharing a little meditation story for a Marbon ritual. So we'll be getting the ball rolling with some little online gatherings that you can come to. We had to cancel our Marbon ritual for the weekend, so we decided to we'll put it online. So that'll be really nice for people to share and do along with us. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope that we'll get to see more of that kind of thing as a result of everything that's happening. Hopefully there's some positive experiences that will come out of all of this. And yeah, thinking of you all. I hope, I don't know, just take care. Thanks.